Good afternoon, everybody. So, am I audible? Yeah. Good afternoon, one and all.
Yes, Gomati.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, good afternoon, all of you. Once again, today we have this afternoon we have with us an industry person. So, I would like to introduce Mr. Jagannathan. So Mr. Jagannathan obtained his Bachelor's of Engineering in Electronics and Communication from Conga Engineering College in the year 2013. And currently, he is working as a senior software engineer in functional safety systems with Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions India. So right from his placement, 7 years of experience, he has got in function development, software development, and for level 2 safety monitoring software complying with ISO standards in automotive embedded systems. And he has got a hands-on experience in designing and developing functional safety concepts for 7.5 months in Germany with Robert Bosch GmbH. Joined with customer collaboration works in UK for 30 days for the hybrid technology concept development. His experience includes in monitoring various concepts such as continuous torque monitoring, overrun monitoring, engine speed based monitoring, knowledge torque and knowledge of vehicle power, proficient in analyzing customer requirements effectively and independently, breaking down into low-level design, coding, testing and integration of the changes. Also, he has got hands-on testing and debugging skill at the unit level, functional level and vehicle level with all the latest technologies. So we think he would be the right person to explore the industrial standard sensors that is used in the industry, and we'll be having a session today on the various types of sensors and how do we utilize it in the industry-based needs. Mr. Jagannathan, I hand over the session to you.
Hello?
Yes, you are audible, but I think you can also raise your volume still.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, ma'am, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Let me know once you can see me.
Your screen is visible, but you can increase your volume still more.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. I think the topic is known to everyone. So, sensor operation and its requirements. Maybe here is the agenda. Maybe before going to the session, I would just like to put one point before we start this session. So basically, for this presentation, all the participants are in this forum. I would consider like a end user customer for the any industry. For any, it doesn't matter. For example, today mostly I'm going to speak about on the automotive industry, but even if you take it as a healthcare industry or a wearable technology, anything. So all people over here are the end user customers. So the expectation or the questions would be the different way. And since I do have the different focus area only in the automotive industry and have a limited experience, I would try to answer all of your questions. Maybe if there is any question, if it is in the different domain or industry, I would like to record and then answer you in the offline. Hope that is okay for everyone. Then this is the agenda. So basically, I think there is a 6 topic we'll try to cover. So what is a sensor, and then classification of sensors, and then what are the need for the sensors and real-time application of sensor in the automotive industry, and then the criteria to choose the sensor, and then the future sensor technology. So basically the 6 steps. So a few slides, maybe the first 2 section would be very basics to you. Maybe I am not sure whether it is already been covered in the morning session or not, but anyway, just to make a proper flow into the session, I would like to briefly touch upon those topics, and in detail we can go for the further topics, the last. Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
I don't know when I was disconnected.
No, no. It was just my mistake that I unmuted you. The other name of Rasikla. Sorry, sorry, Jagan. Sorry, participants, about this interruption.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. Yeah.
Continue.
Okay. So maybe just to start with the sensor, maybe if I ask you the one question, what would be the sensor in your body? Maybe before we learned about technology and all other stuff, maybe we would have realized the sensors in our body itself. Any case? Okay, so personally, what I was thinking, or at least what I was thought about sensor in my body is my eyes. Okay, so the eyes which is sensing the any object or a parameter and then giving that signal to the my brain. So the sensor is the same, so which measures the physical quantity, physical input, let it be the physical quantity or non-electrical quantity from the environment and converts into the data. It can be interpreted by the either a human or a controller or a machine, whatever may be. So its job is to sense the one what to say, sense the parameter and send the signal or information to the receiver. So that's the whole job. Okay, so basically in a modern life, sensor is our sensor is integrated part in our life. Maybe I'm not sure, so people who is attending this forum in with the computer is using one sensor right now. The one is mouse. So if you're using the mouse, that's a one sensor. Then the people who is attending the session with the mobile phone is using the sensor which is your touch screen. Okay, so in a modern life we can't, at least this sensor is our integrated part. What to say, everywhere if you go, we can exclusively what to say, find this sensor. Okay, maybe it can vary with respect to the properties and types, but if you think in detail, you can find a sensor in it. Any minimum one we can find in it. Okay, so put in a very simple statement. So sensor converts the what is the information such as heat, light, or sound or motion into the electrical signal. These electrical signals are process, and then it is given to the controller in a binary code. Okay, so here we can take a computer or any simple display system or electronic computer, which process the signal and make a proper action. Okay, so basically in most of the industry, it is living, what to say, it is works with a simple controller. What to say, in a simple controller, the sensor is a what to say, main important component. Without the sensor, the what to say, the whole controller might not work. So the next one is the the classification of the sensor. So it is classified based on its different types. Maybe based on its operation nature, it is classified as active or passive sensor, and based on the inputs, what it is, based on the output, what it is providing, it is classified as analog or digital. Similarly, for a sensing parameter, it is a position sensor, speed, temperature, pressure, oxygen, something like this. Okay, so briefly, I will take all through the types. The active sensor basically does not need any electrical information, say electrical supply, but it will it will provide the information, current or voltage. Okay, so a few examples could be the thermocouples and piezoelectric sensor. And passive sensors, like it needs electrical power to make a proper working. So for example, it will use the passive electrical quantity such as a capacitor, resistor, inductive, and result the simulation. So passive sensor use the additional electrical energy. This is the main difference between the active and passive sensor. Then analog and digital is a self-explanatory. Like for example, analog sensor, it will provide the continuous raw analog signal out of your what is a sensor model. And the digital one would what to say, sense the physical quantity and converts them into the physical quantity converts them into the digital form, and then it will give the digital inputs to the your receiver. It will be a what is a controller or display unit. Then position sensor, basically the sensor measuring the distance traveled by the body. We do need a reference position. So from reference position, how your body is what to say, how much your body is travel, that is calculated using a position sensor. And here we might have the what to say, linear and what to say, curvilinear position sensor. And we do have there is a different types of position sensor: potentiometer, position, capacitive, linear voltage, and optical. Maybe one or two example we will see in the downstream of the presentation. Okay, so I think this is a very basic information. I think you would have heard already. The one which I wanted to make it in the detailed one is about the sensors which is used in the industries. Maybe today I'm from the automotive industry. So before to explain the types of sensor which is used in my industry, I would like to what to say explain the place where it is being used. Okay, so basically I'm working for the engine management system. So what I say, previously your engine would have been completely controlled by the driver, by the wire. For example, if you do press the, maybe the person who would have drawn the person who is very much enthusiastic in the car, or who would have drawn the old car, would have known completely. So basically, in the old car, when the driver is pressing the accelerator pedal, that information would directly control your engine operation via wire. Maybe in the left side of the presentation, as you can see, so your driver demand, which is your so left side here you can see the driver demand, which is your accelerator pedal. So this information would be given to the unit which could calculate the fuel quantity, and then that will go to the engine. Maybe before going to any technological terms, I would like to explain you the operation of the engine and what are the different terms, so that it would be easy for us to follow the complete session properly. Okay, so basically here I just took the 4-cylinder combustion engine, and the operation of the engine would be known well to everyone. So for example, it will take the air and fuel, air from the atmospheric, and it will take the fuel from your fuel tank, and this air and fuel would be mixed inside your combustion chamber. Okay, and then you have the piston which would make your pressure. For example, it will what say compress your air fuel mixture, and you have a spark in it. Here you can see, here you have a spark, and this spark will make your combustion process. Once the combustion is done, your exhaust gas will go out. Okay, so basically this is the operation of the engine. And here we need to understand the two terms. One is the complete combustion, another one is incomplete combustion. So complete combustion in the sense the air and fuel is completely burned. There is no unburned fuel or as inside your combustion, out of your combustion process. For example, CH4 is your fuel and O2 is your air. So this two is making the combustion cycle. So your carbon dioxide and your water molecule, water vapor is the combustion end output, and this will produce the heat that will make your piston ups and downs. So piston rotating based on your heat or a power being produced by the combustion process, and then output of the process is CO2 and then H2O. So this is a complete combustion. If you take an incomplete combustion, as you can see here, if you do, I think this is a chemical equation, the incomplete chemical equation. If you do put a different molecule of a fuel or air, you, instead of getting a CO2 plus H2O, you do get a carbon monoxide or carbon. So which is an incomplete compression end product, which is not good for the environment. Okay, so which means so the whole expectation is the above one, the complete combustion, it should happen. So incomplete combustion is not good for the environmental. So this makes the whole automotive industry, I think majorly on the engine management side, to make the different requirements to the your different requirements to the customer. So every customer would reach their market based on how much accuracy or how much easily they are reaching this equation and then meeting the environmental requirement. Okay, so I think for the complete combustion we do need this ratio, which means 14.7 percentage of air molecule should be needs to be there, and 1 molecule of fuel needs to be there. So 14.7 is to 1 is the combination for the complete combustion needs to happen. Okay, so the whole right side is the explanatory of the area where I'm going to speak for next 40 minutes. So the right side, as I mentioned, so this is, normally we used to call it a drive-by-wire system. So the black line is called as a mechanical coupling. Okay, so just to briefly explain you how things were happening in the past. So as I mentioned early, your driver will press the accelerator pedal, and that will go to the one device called carburetor. I think we would have heard, maybe in the two-wheeler also we could hear the carburetor. So the carburetor, what it could do is, so based on the air which is flowing into the your cylinder, that will suck the amount of fuel from the, sorry, that will take the amount of fuel from the fuel reservoir. Okay, so this is mostly working on the Bernoulli's principle. So your what to say, your area would be reduced in the place where your pressure, sorry, area would be increased, where your pressure would be increased compared to your atmospheric pressure. The difference in atmospheric pressure would suck some fuel from the fuel reservoir. So the amount of air which takes into the cylinder would directly takes the fuel from the fuel tank. So there is no electronics involved. So completely it is working on the wire and the mechanical principle. So there is no electronic involved here. So maybe in the recent days, people, we would have heard like different norms like Bharat stage 3, 4, 6. So the expectation is in every stage they are trying to reach how much percentage we are trying to reach this what is a complete combustion cycle. Okay, so in a Bharat stage 3, the incomplete combustion, or maybe in a 1 or 2 or 3, the incomplete combustion ratio would have been agreed certain percentage, and then in a 4 the percentage would have been reduced, and then similarly in the 6 the percentage would be still reduced. So which means we are going very stricter with respect to the environmental to make the complete combustion which is not a harm to the environmental. Okay, so this is basically the requirement which is comes from the government. This is a legal requirement. Okay, so coming to the sensor topic, so maybe you would have already got some clue what would be the problem with respect to this system, with respect to this expectation. Yeah, so here we do have a complete mechanical system or working based on the mechanical principle, which would be make us, which will make us too difficult to reach this equation. Yes, because you are let's assume in a layman's side, we do have a air. We need to take the air base. Sorry, we need to take the fuel based on the air with a complete physical principle. Okay, so where we do have a different environment. For example, we have a what to say cold time, we have a hot time, and we have a what to say sometime our airflow would be very high, sometime our airflow would be different, and sometime we'll go for a high altitude, low altitude. So all those environmental situation make us to create a different environmental to your operating world. So this operating component would not be adjusted to all the parameters what I told to meet this accuracy. So this is the practical difficulty for the industry to use the whole mechanical component to meet the whole requirement. Okay, so at least here I just briefly touch about the requirement, which is environmental or a legal requirement. So for automobile industry, we do have multiple requirements. For example, we do have the safety requirement, we do have a security, and then the assistance requirement and drivability. So there are different type of requirement which is given to the customer. So how far the customer is meeting the requirement will make them to sustain in the market. So all these based on this principle, so obviously the customer needs to find the proper components and proper design to meet the requirements such that they will be sustainable in the industry. Okay, so based on that, they will need to find the proper components. So the components will start from the starting. So which will start from the it will start from the sensor, which sends the input, and which will based on the controller, which is how fast or how accurate it is processing the information, and how control we are controlling the actuator. So all these components will make the important parts for the industry. So today, at least the scope for us is only the sensing parameter on the left side. Okay, so I think the difference I just at least here it is given with a different arrow. The the black one is the mechanical one, and then the white arrow is with your electronics involved one. So in the left side, as you can see here, pure mechanical one, and right side you can see here, so the mechanical one is being replaced with your electronical one. Okay, so when your driver is pressing your accelerator pedal, it's no more is directly controlled with a wire to your throttle. So instead you will put one sensor over here, and you will sense this information. So how much is driver is pressing the pedal, whether he is pressing 5 or 50 percentage, 100 percentage, that will be sensed by the sensor, and this sensory information will be given to the control unit. So this control unit will decide how much air needs to go into your engine, how much fuel needs to how much fuel needs to be injected, such that the 14.7:1 ratio would be maintained, and what exactly the spark needs to be produced. I think I forgot to explain the spark. So the spark needs to what to say done at a very what to say at the maximum position where your compression ratio is high. So and in that place, if you make the spark, your combustion would happen properly. If you advance or delay your spark ignition timing, so your incomplete combustion would be resulted. So this control unit will decide, okay, based on the demand and based on the what is it, some other parameters, it will demand at what how much based on how much air which is going into your engine, so the injection plus ignition quantity will be calculated. Okay, so I think maybe people would have got a question why I am going in detail about this stuff. Because I am taking a few sensor example, so which is explaining how we are going to achieve this type. So compared to here, how we are going to achieve this type is being explained with the multiple, at least a few example, sorry, sensors example. So that is why I'm just briefly stick to this information. Okay, so I think this is what I was explaining you. So we do have maybe in the two picture, the left side is your sensing information, input sensor, for example temperature sensor or pressure sensor or throttle position, here throttle position sensor, here you have pressure sensor, temperature sensor, your oxygen sensor. So all the sensor will sense the information which will be given to your process, what to say, process control, and this process will control your, here you have spark ignition, here you have injector, and then yeah, here you have ignition coil. So all the things would be your actuator type. So this is what we have seen so far. Okay, so I think this is a one example just to say maybe if you go in the advanced vehicles, so it's not only that one control unit, you do have multiple control units. Maybe in the very latest car have a what to say, around 100 ECU inside the car. So maybe when I come to at the end of the slide, I will explain you what would be the difficulty when we go in advance with respect to the sensors also. Okay, so then okay, so previously I think the first sensor what I'm going to briefly explain is the mass airflow sensor, the airflow sensor. So as I mentioned previously, the airflow would be directly given to the carburetor, and then that will take the fuel from the carburetor. There is no sensor or electronics involved in. But here, in order to make the proper injection plus ignition, we need to identify or calculate how much air is being, sorry, how much air is going into your cylinder. Okay, so the sensor which is used to calculate this a mass sorry, airflow sensor. So I think in the picture you can see, there is a flap. So the flap is placed between your intake which is placed in your intake manifold. So based on your air, the flap will rotate. So how much it is rotated, that will what to say, change your what to say, here you have the what to say, resistive component, the sensor resistive component, that will change your resistance, and that will be the information given to the your ECU. Maybe I'll just park for a moment just to read if this content. Okay, so basically, sorry, every time for any new component or a new change, so the drawback from the existing existing one makes the requirement for the new one. So as like is in the same direction, so the what is airflow sensor do have some drawback, so which makes the industry to find the some other component. So for example, here as you can see, so the flap needs to be put it in your air path, so which would be the difficult for which will restrict your airflow. So normally if you don't put any restriction, your air mask will flow freely. If you put the flap, that will restrict your air performance. Maybe if you go in the very high engine, sorry, very high speed, this the small what is a restriction by this flap will make the huge performance difference. So this is the one drawback for the customer to avoid this one. Similarly, here we need to find the proper mounting places. For example, we need to find the component which should be suitable for all the types of vehicle and all the type of mounting places, but here we need to find the proper mounting. So that is a one more constraint. Then other one is it is moving. It is once again basically we are going for the mechanical ones, so moving components which has the wear and tear problem. So all these are the drawbacks for in this type of sensor. So which makes industry to go for the other one, which is called hot film air mass sensor. So basically we do have a one what to say heated coil. Put the other side. Okay, so this is the one, so which is your heat element. So you will make sorry, you will heat this component, and then this component would be kept it in your intake manifold, which means your air path. So obviously when the air mask flows into the when it is flows, then the what to say the air will try to cool your coil, and we can get the difference between your temperature. For example, T2 is your, for example, if T2 is your what to say input temperature, which you maintain with a constant voltage by the battery, and then T1 is the resultant temperature by your sensor, which is this sensor is the sensor difference is made by the airflow. So the delta between these two would give the amount of air which is get into the cylinder. Okay, I think the graph would show here. So T1 and T2 difference. T1 D2 difference would give the airflow value. Okay, the other one is engine speed sensor. So basically this engine speed is needed to find the proper place where we need to make the injection. For example, the ignition needs to happen, as I mentioned, it needs to happen in the maximum compression cycle, sorry, compression level, then only the proper combustion would happen. So that is the reason why we need to calculate the engine speed. So the engine speed will be is calculated based calculated based on this variable reluctance VR sensor. So basically the sensor consisting of the magnet, so which in which the coil is mounted. So by moving the piece of metal towards the sensor, for example, the magnet if you change the metal in the magnetic field would change. So by changing the magnetic field in the coil of the sensor, this will generate the voltage. So by calculating the voltage, you can identify how what is it, the rotation of the engine. Okay, so if you do have a what to say, if you the object moves towards the sensor, the magnetic field, you will get a positive, and if it is goes opposite, it will be negative. So you can get the different level of value. So this is engine speed sensor. Similarly, the other one is a crank position sensor. So here the same the VR sensor is being used, but here we need to find the crank position. Okay, so here the main one is the trigger wheel. As you can see, the wheel is the it's a two-third wheel, but maybe at the one place the tooth is removed. Okay, basically if you do normally, if it is a 36 minus 1 or 60 minus 2, something like that, the trigger wheel would come. So 36 minus 1 means, so normally this if it is a 360 degree, so every degree for a one teeth, so in this the one teeth would be removed. Sorry, for every 10 degree one teeth would be placed, so in a one teeth would be removed. So normally you would by see here the black one is your sensor. So this sensor would get the proper, for example, this what I say, you do get a variable magnetic field, isn't it? For example, here you have a magnetic field with because of this rod. Then when the magnetic field is cut by the rod, you will get a high sign, and if it is not, you will get a low sign. So you will get a like a what I say, a square wave. But when you do when you get this missed tooth, okay, where your phase, what to say, your on cycle of your sine wave would be different. So based on that, we can identify what is the position of the shaft. So normally here you'll get the like the teeth, you'll get the sine wave, but here you can get the high phase on cycle wave. So which is a missed tooth wheel concept, where you can find the place of the crankshaft. This information would be used to find where exactly your where exactly your shafts are placed. Based on that, you can make the ignition. Okay, the other one is the oxygen sensor. We I think in the previous way we have seen this complete combustion and incomplete combustion. So as I mentioned, so the incomplete combustion is because of the insufficient air, or what to say, your higher fuel mass. So if you do have the very less air, higher fuel mass, then your incomplete combustion would happen. That incomplete combustion would provide you the would make the either what to say, unburned oxygen or unburned carbon with to the environmental, that is harm. So that is a legal or a environmental requirement for the industry. So based on that, so whatever sensor we have seen so far, which means your speed sensor or a position sensor or your what to say, airflow sensor, all the sensors are placed before or intake of your engine. Okay, so which is your forward calculation, meaning so it will calculate how much is your air based on the air to meet the combustion ratio 14.7 is to 1. So all the modeling would work. So now still cylinder is your mechanical component. Yeah, so this mechanical component could make the incomplete combustion. For example, if the engine is it's a cold, it's not such a warm, or if you have any leakage from your coolant oil, or if you have any leakage or improper working by your spark, so all these things would make the incomplete combustion. So although we have a sensor to sense the information and we can model to the microcontroller, still there is a electric what is your mechanic component, which is your engine, is inside your loop, in your control loop. So still your engine could make the incomplete combustion, that needs to be identified by the sensor. So based on that, still we can correct your input quantity. Yeah, so this oxygen sensor is placed your exhaust pipe, where it will sense how much is your how much the oxygen content is exist in your exhaust path. Based on that information, we can tune the inputs. For example, our inputs are air and fuel and ignition. So if your oxygens are higher, then we can tune your air path, or we can reduce the fuel, and the other way around also we could do it. So this information would be the fallback solution. So the front solution, the forward solution, is where the inputs are being corrected based on, sorry, inputs are properly modeled based on your input sensor itself, and based on the output sensor you can still correct your inputs. Okay, so briefly see the working level. So here this what to say, we have the forum where you have the exhaust side also, the sensor which is exposed to the exhaust side and which is exposed to the what to say, your atmospheric side. So if you do have the lesser oxygen in the atmosphere and higher oxygen in the exhaust, or other way around, so your oxygen would go from one side to the other side. So how much oxygen is flowing through this electrode would make your current flow. Here the difference in the voltage. So this information would be this information would be interpreted as the how much oxygen is unburned in the exhaust path. So here is the alternate, sorry, your atmospheric side. Here is the exhaust side. If you do have a less oxygen, then high oxygen will go to the exhaust side with this membrane, So this, when these molecules are passes through the electrode, then this will make the flow in the voltage. So that's the one being measured. So other one is the inertial sensor. So which means basically this is to identify whether your vehicle is standing in the flat road or inclined road. So this is working with the principle of capacitance, as you can see here. So basically you have two objects here, one, the here one. So if your vehicle is accelerating, which means your engine is rotating, a vehicle is accelerating, you have an acceleration force. Okay, so that this object would not move, and this object would move based on your acceleration force, because you do have the aerodynamic force in the opposing. So based on this force, you do calculate the difference in the capacitance that will sense how much acceleration the vehicle is accelerating. Yeah, the other way around here, let's assume the acceleration is not happened because of the engine, but instead you are in the what to say up downhill, where your vehicle is moving because of your what to say atmospheric pressure. So this here, you do get the same pressure in this two coil, and then same pressure from here. See, in this example, you don't have any difference, pressure difference. For example, here will be exposure to the pressure, but this does not expose to the pressure. But here, this upper will give the pressure to this one, and similarly from here you will get the pressure. So you will not get any much difference on this. So based on this information, we can find, okay, this vehicle is in the inclined angle, not in the flat road, or other way around. Even in the inclined angle also, if the vehicle is accelerating, then we do get the different performance of this rod compared to this one. That will give you how much is accelerating because of your engine, not because of your environmental. Okay, so other one is, I think the we had seen, right? For example, uh, now in the oxygen sensor, we have seen if the fuel mask is higher, then we do have the fuel sensor. That means fuel, we can try to reduce it. But suppose if we do have the higher air, then we need to reduce the air. Okay, so in that case, we need to identify the what to say the amount of demand or the request coming from the driver. So that we need to calculate using the accelerator pedal sensor. Normally it's a potentiometric sensor. I think this is it's a very basic one. What to say? A varying potentiometer value would give you the position of your pedal. For example, if the pedal is slightly pressed, then your value would be what to say less in voltage, and it is linearly proposed to the pedal pressed. So maybe the last sensor which I took in this forum is the optical fusion sensor. So I think we would have heard we are in the very, at least in the automotive side, we are in the very advanced, we are going towards very advanced, where we have this, what to say, cruise control, adaptive cruise control, or in the very upstream level, we do have a requirement to make the driverless car. I think there are car exists, but still, what to say, the other customers are trying to meet this requirement. So for that, we do need to find the obstacles or the what to say objects which is front or side, or what to say rear to the wheel. Okay, so that would be calculated based on your optical position sensor. I think here we do have different lidar, radar, and sonar sensor. Basically, sonar is not in this automotive industry, but lidar, radar is mostly used. I think radar was used what to say when the driver was in the loop. Basically, when the driver is in the pedal and he is, what to say, if something is goes wrong and driver takes a control, this is called driver in the loop. So in that case, radar was used because that was only sensing the what to say front object only. But in case of driverless car, the driver will be completely out of the loop. For example, he is working or he is sleeping inside the car, so the car needs to drive on its own. So in that case, we do need a high accuracy sensor which would find the objects in the front and what to say very close, and inside in the side direction also. So that is used based on the lidar sensor. So basically all these optical position sensors working based on the what to say characteristics like intensity, wavelength, and polarization phase of the signal which is being sent. For example, the radar, as we know, the radio frequency is being sent, and then the time or the angle, the phase, the signal is being reflected by the object is received and then processed. So the light emitter would send the signal, right receiver will signal, and then based on this what to say emitter and then receiver signal. For example, if it is a radio signal, the radio signal property variation would give you your image of the product or the distance of the product. And in the lidar we are using the light waves. Okay, so basically at least in the so far in the slides I was briefly explaining you the sensor which were used in our industries. I think majorly in the automotive industry. I think it was very few sensor. As I mentioned, there are multiple ECUs where there are multiple requirements. So based on that, every requirement minimum need what to say different sensors, and based on that, the sensors placement and everything would be captured. Okay, so I think I do have last two slide. One, I'm just explaining them criteria to choose the sensor. Okay, so I think this is more, at least more interesting, more important for us. Okay, so for example, for industry, if someone needs to choose the sensor for any application or requirement, how do they choose it? Yeah, so basically these are the four these are the points. The accuracy is the first one. Okay, I think I think we have seen the few example where we would already thought about how much the signal would be accurate. So the accuracy is the main one. For example, your vehicle is accelerating, going very fast. In that case, your sensing frequency or sensing accuracy also needs to be very fast. Okay, your sampling time and your sensing time, everything should be fast, and then it should be accurate. So if this input is accurate, then only your controller could calculate the accurate action output, and then your actuator could follow it. So the input needs to be very accurate such that your furthermore components like a controller or actuators or the other things would follow correctly. Then other one is environmental condition. For example, if it is if we do have a different sensors or different environmental like what to say ice zone, we have the rainy zone, and then we have temperature hot and summer. So in a different environmental condition, how our sensor is optimum in all the environmental condition. That is the one. Other one is the range. So measurement limit for the sensor. Okay, so basically as we have seen here, the speed sensor. Okay, so we do have the engine speed from 0 to 6000 rpm. Okay, so your sensors should be capable of reading the information or finding the information in all the working zone. Okay, so that would make the that would make the usability of the sensor in the particular requirement. So the range of working or the measurement limit of the sensor is the next one. Other one is calibration. So here the calibration, what here it is mentioned is based on the time. For example, this value should be equal in all the time. For example, when your engine is with in a low working time, or in goes to the high engine speed time, so your value should be same in with respect to all the time. Other one is resolution. As you know, how much is the minimum value we could record it. For example, if it is a 0 to 5 volt working range sensor, okay, how much is the minimum sensing value we can get out of the sensor? Okay, so I think obviously the analog to digital converter also would make the role. How much is the minimum value we could process it, but the sensor also would be required to would make the resolution value. Okay, so the difference with respect to the resolution is, if we let's assume we have two different resolution. One is what to say your 0.5 volt resolution. 0.5 volt resolution means the minimum value that can be measured out of your sensor is 0.5 volt. Okay, if your sensor is in a 0th position, so the next sample what it can get out of your let's assume the accelerator pedal. So next position we can get from accelerator pedal is 0.5 volt, means then your resolution is very low. isn't it? For example, you have working range of 0 to 5. So 0 to 100% of accelerated pedal. You have a resolution of 0.5 volt means you can measure 0% of pedal. Next one is 10% of pedal. We can't measure between 1, 2 or 5, 7, 8, 9 like this. Yeah. So if we do need to find the very accurate or what to say the higher resolution, very accurate value, then we need to go for a higher resolution, which in let's assume 0.1 volt 0.1 volt resolution. If it is 0.1 volt means, for example, you can measure 1% of the your deviation of accelerator pedal. So you can measure 0%. Next one is 1%, 2%, 3% you can measure. Yeah. So if you I think this resolution requirement would normally vary with respect to the customer to customer. If you are going for the low end customer where they might not be able might not require they would not have very high advanced features or requirements, so they might not need this high resolution sensors also. So obviously they will go for the lower resolution sensor. Yeah. If you go for the high end customer like a BMW or a Benz or a Jaguar Land Rover, so where you can get the very high resolution sensor which could give you a high resolution value. Yeah, because they need to be very accurate, because people are putting millions amount to the vehicle, so they need to have a good performance, good drivability, and they need to meet the legal requirements also, and they need to be secure and safe also. So all those parameters, this resolution also make sense. The other one is interconnected, the cost one. So the cost is the same. So basically depends on how accurate, how much is the range, how much is the resolution, and what is the lifetime. I think the other one is repeatable. Yeah, how what is the lifetime of this component? All the things would be important, and this will derive the cost. So if someone is providing you a sensor with all the information, all the characteristics like good accuracy, maximum range, and good in calibration, and what's a very high resolution and low what to say replacement low in bad condition. So all this would make the, sorry, if someone is giving all the characteristics with a low cost, that would be the market sustainable product. Yeah. So this cost also would be required for the to choose the sensor, but all the other things would derive this cost. It's like a trade-off one. Okay, so I think we are at the end of the presentation. So just one slide to explain the feature of the sensor technology. So as thing in the other slide I have explained you. Yeah. So here I was taking the very few. Sorry, I took the one example where this car is mounted with, I think, the 13 microcontrollers. Yeah. So I think we know what is the length of the car. Inside this, in this whole vehicle compartment, the ECU needs to be placed, and every ECU will get the requirements. Yeah. For example, let's take the airbag one. So this airbag itself would got the separate requirement, and this airbag would need multiple information. Yeah. So this multiple information needs to be received from the sensors. Yeah. So if let's assume for a one controller itself, if you do get a multiple sensors, and if you do put a multiple controllers and multiple requirements, the number of sensors would be increased. Yeah. This is good for the industry. Yeah, because the your number of your customer is getting the good performance vehicle, and we are having the economy. But other way around, so we have a limited space in the vehicle which needs to be fitted with all the ECUs, with all the required requirements, all the features, and for that all the sensors actually need to be placed. Yeah. So in this case, the sensors, the number of sensors, number of ECUs and requirements are increasing, which would increase your sensors. Then this would reduce your all this information. For example, you need to go for a you need to go for a small size sensors, and the what is it, coupled one. For example, you no need to have the separate pressure sensor and then temperature sensor, because if you go for a different sensor, then pressure sensor needs to be placed in the one place. For example, in the airflow sensor itself, in the very old time, to calculate the airflow, there are three sensors were used. Yeah. So one is the input pressure, other one is the output pressure, other one is the temperature. So based on this P1, P2 and temperature, we do have a model. I think the controller would have the model which would calculate how much would be your airflow. Yeah. So the number of sensors are 3 over there, and we need to find the proper mounting place, and this mounting place would increase your size of your car, other way around cost of your car, other way, and then this what to say, increase in your sensor numbers would increase the service time also. For example, if some what to say, some sensors are dead, for example your airflow sensor is dirty, then that needs to be cleaned sometime and then fitted again, or if it is a problem, then it should be replaced. Yeah. For an end user customer, so cleaning or replacement or the size of the car would be the trouble. Yeah. So to meet or to satisfy them, we need to find the what to say, reduced components with the increased features. Yeah. So if it, for example, as I mentioned, we had a 3 sensors, mean those 3 sensor, whether it can be coupled or not, because we do need only one information, which is airflow value. How much is air goes into the cylinder is needs to be measured. If you do need if you have only one sensor, is providing this value with a complete accuracy, with a complete range, then this would be okay for the customer, or this would be okay for the industry. I don't need to go for the 3 cylinder, sorry, I need to go for the 3 sensor. I need to find the mounting place, all those things. So which will be the trouble. Yeah. So for in the future, if you go for if you think about the future, this requirements every day by day is increasing. This increase in requirements is increasing ECU, in turns increasing your sensors requirement. So I think in the what to say, in the R&D side also, if you are able to make a sensors, okay, which would be accurate or proper, and it could give the exact information without having a multiple other inputs. Okay, so that would be the expected one from the industry. I think for the automotive industry also. Yeah. So sometimes the one more point is, so sometimes what would happen is we could have the very simple sensors like a position sensor or pressure or temperature sensor. Then if you read the sensor and based on this information, we need to find some other information, then this whole logic would be placed into your engine, inside your control unit. So if you put more logic into your control unit load also is increasing. Yeah. So if I don't want to increase my control unit load, then I need to reduce the load of the control unit. In that case, this reduction in this algorithm or logic would goes towards your sensor. Yeah. So then the sensors needs to sense the value, and how much in a reduced algorithm or a processed way it can give the information to the ECU is the expected one for the control unit also. Yes, control does not want to have a more algorithm to calculate or possibilize this information and then make some decision. Yeah. So if this sensor itself is good, the exact information that can be used directly. So I think that's my conclusion statement. Okay, so the same, I think today we are mostly in the automotive industry. So as I think it's, as I mentioned in the slide, so engineers and scientists around the world will use the sensor to enhance the transportation system. I think we were spoke to so far, and medical procedure and nanotechnology and mobile devices. So and at the end, it is artificial intelligence also. These are the good scope or the area where the R&D can be increased further. Yeah. So that's it from my side. Maybe if you do have any question, we will discuss it and then I can try to answer. Hello, am I audible still?
Yes, Jagan, you're audible. Okay. Participants, if you do have any questions or any, yeah, we'll be providing, ma'am. I'll put it in the chat box. I'll put the email. If you do have any clarifications or questions, you can just ask Mr. Jagannathan. So there is a question. What are the aspects we should consider to design a sensor? Again, there is a question in the chat box. Sir, what
Okay.
are the aspects we should consider to design a sensor?
Okay, ma'am, I think I was just reading the question. Yeah, yeah. I think maybe I stopped sharing. Maybe I'll try to answer the audio itself. So I think the one slide before we were seeing that the requirements for the sensors. Those are the aspects we need to find it. See, as I was explaining in the last few minutes, so you need to. I think the R&D needs to be done on the sensor side to make the sensor, which is the first one is accurate, the other one is low cost, range, resolution, and how much you could give the information towards the sensing parameter. Yeah, we don't need to calculate, at least if the sensor is providing the signal which is directly goes to the controller, and controller need not to do the algorithm to find the proper value. Yeah, these parameters make the sense, these parameters are the requirements to the sensors.
The next question is, can we design a sensor which can measure more than one variable?
It should be possible. For example, the sensors, the way the sensor is being mounted, the way sensor is being designed. If you do have a sensor which is directly, I think we have seen, maybe I'll take one sensor which is your oxygen sensor. So that sensor could measure only that value. Yeah, because that is designed in that purpose. Okay, so if it is able, if, for example, if your HFM sensor could measure one value, but based on that value we can interpret two information. For example, if you can interpret your flow, and even if you could interpret we can how much is the pressure, then that is the two output. Out of the output is a one element, but we could make a two interpretation out of your input. So then the point what I'm trying to say is, when we do need to make the sensor, maybe the sensing principle would be one. Yeah, either based on your what is a change in voltage, or what is a change in position, or what is a change in capacitance or inductance. So based on this only, this is a sensing methodology. So since sensing methodology would be the same, it's only one for the sensor, but the output which is provided by the sensor can be used for multiple purpose, then that is the opted one. Yeah, so as I mentioned, if you are able to find the temperature and then pressure of the what is your air based on your only one sensor, then that is a good compared to the existing one, where we do have a different sensor for the pressure and different sensor for your temperature. But sensing would be the single, but your output could be sensed in the multiple way.
One question, sir.
Yes.
Like, nice session. Very nicely we have addressed how exactly piston position sensors work and all. Can you little bit lighten on the how exactly the CDI unit and TCI unit will be positioned, and what is the effect of three-phase magnet or single-phase magnet along with the speed governor with TCI and CDI? What are the new innovations going on in industry?
Maybe I'm not familiar with this one. Maybe I'll try to record and then answer you.
Okay. Like nowadays, to increase the capacity of spark plug, instead of capacitor discharge ignition, they are using transistorized ignition. So it will much more faster and it will be fuel efficient. So people are using that.
Okay.
There is another one question. Is there any sensor which sense the COVID-19 virus? Does the I think the participant wants to know whether any R&D is going on this kind of matter. If you could answer this, it would be okay.
No, ma'am, at least not my vision. It is there. Maybe I will take it. I'll take it.
So any more questions?
Is it okay? There is no questions.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I have one nice session, ma'am. I want to ask, can I get that material, ma'am? And when we will get that material, ma'am?
Ma'am, every day the day session ends, I'll be sending you to the registered mail ID, like what you got your mail ID, Google Meet IDs previously. I will send to the mail ID the content of the each day.
Ma'am, okay. Will you send the video or the presentation, ma'am?
Yeah, I'll definitely send the presentation slides, ma'am. We have also got the recorded audio. I'll see like how we can pass. I think when the MB is larger, I could only share it. So if there is a possibility, I'll just put it in the drive so that you can access, ma'am. I'll see for the possibility and get back to you, ma'am. But sure, you will be getting the presentation slides.
Okay, at the end of the day.
Yeah, end of the day. End of the day.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Just addition to this thread, madam, you can create a YouTube channel and you can upload all the sessions one by one. It would be a great help.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Sure, sir. We'll also look on that. So, like, if there are no more questions for this session, along with our course director, Dr. G. Murugesan sir, and the course coordinator, Dr. Meera Devi ma'am, I would thank Mr. Jagannathan for sharing his valuable industrial experiences with us. Thank you. It would have been an informative session for all the participants, and thank you, participants, for your patient listening. Thank you, Jagannathan, once again for joining us this evening amidst your schedule. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, ma'am.
Yeah. And participants,